everybody. My name is Suzette Biernon, and it is my privilege to bring you weekly content that amplifies your voice, your value, and your vision. 3 critical factors of enoughness. By doing so, you can experience love and life in a brand new way. In fact, this episode is being brought to you by Do You Speak Male? The 5 C's of Understanding a Man's Language. For the next level woman who is ready to up-level her relationships. For more information, go to bit.ly/his language. I decided a month or so ago that June was going to be different. It was going to be the month of the man. I felt that men's contributions were often overlooked, so just doing something special for Father's Day just wasn't enough. Little did I know how timely this decision would be. For like you, I have watched with horror as the lives of Black men and women have been snuffed out prematurely and without provocation and cause, triggering outrage across America. And so I decided to use my platform to give Black men a voice, to allow them to tell their stories, to speak their truth, and to celebrate the men that they are, whose lives really do matter. It is with this in mind that I introduce to you John A. McDonald. He describes himself as a tie-loathing adventurer, philanthropist, and entrepreneur who believes in turning ideas into reality. And though our interview was recorded back in January, his story is a reminder that in the blink of an eye, your life can change for the better. So without further introduction, here's my interview with John. Welcome, John.
Oh my goodness! Thank you so much, Suzette. I'm probably like 5 shades of red right now.
And you know our complexion, that is quite a feat.
That's right. It is. Oh my goodness! I cannot say thank you enough for that great introduction.
Oh, well, it was from the heart, John, because you know our initial conversation was really, really good.
It was.
And I was so serious. I was like, God, why not hit the record button right now? But, you know, I wanted you to vet me too, you know, Definitely. And that's why I gave you links to my website, my podcast, and my YouTube channel, because, you know, sometimes things are one-sided. And I wanted you to kind of see and hear, get a feel for me too, to see if you would feel comfortable about being a part of my podcast.
I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about it. And I've been like contemplating just your story and what you'll be sharing with my listeners. So, you know, I'm going to ask you the question I asked you that started everything going in our initial conversation.
Okay.
And it's, what is your "if it had not been for God on my side" story?
That is the long and the short is, the kind of the church cliche, as it was. Some people say that, if it wasn't for God on my side, where would I be? But truly, where would I really be? I really don't know. I would probably be three times over dead when I really think back at it. From suicide attempts to just being in the streets, to even making bad decisions when it comes down to sexual partners and things of that sort. So it has been a true manifestation of God's grace and His mercy. And the funny thing is that I I say my parents may not have done a lot of things right, but I believe they named me just right because John in Hebrew, I learned years ago that it means that God has been gracious. And I
Yeah.
believe that if nothing else, that God has truly been gracious to me. And I have lived up to the name that my parents have given me.
Wow. Well, tell us a little bit more, John. How did you grow up? Because yours is, I tell you, when you told me all about how you grew up and all those things that you dealt with, it really, really, I said to myself, I know somebody else out there listening would be like, yeah, he's talking about me. And I never felt like I could own my story because there was so much shame around it or feeling like you're isolated or nobody else has gone through this but me. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. For me, I grew up like most people in today's society in a single parent home. You know, in New York, we moved around quite a bit. And but home is the Boogie Down Bronx. So,
Ah,
I love where I'm from. It's the staple of hip hop. So, so that's where it all began. So I thank God for, growing up in a place that has so much history, and also so much, conflict. For me, I feel as though that the conflict of my upbringing made me appreciate things a lot more. So my mother, did all that she could, not knowing who my father is or was, because I don't know if he is alive or dead. So I can just say was or was difficult for me. So when you grow up on the streets of New York, it's difficult to to be in a environment that you don't know what a man should look like, and you don't know what it is to know how to fight. I tell people, and I laugh about it now. But when I was younger, I didn't laugh about it because I didn't know how to fight. But I learned how to fight and survive from different people in my life. But I learned how to fight physically by watching like fighting movies like Rambo and Rocky and things of that sort. So like the Karate Kid and like Bruce Lee and stuff. So,
wax on, wax off.
that's right, exactly. So I was like, there was a lot of influence from pop culture for me when it came down to learning how to defend myself physically. But for me, it was just it was a good experience. Nonetheless, for me, just because I know that I've learned, and I tell people a lot of times that I feel as a man, your best teacher as a man will be God and a woman. And I say that because God is the ultimate teacher.
Yeah.
But women help us, find who we are as men a lot of times. My mother, my aunt, my grandmother, so many women helped me learn who I really was and am to this day. So for me, it was a lot of just being stupid and being a knucklehead. You out there in the street, you think that you know everything, you really don't know anything. And
it's almost like what Snoop Dogg said. He was in an interview and he was saying that the reason God gave men women is because to give men backbone.
That's right. That's right.
So tell me the emotional consequences of a young man or a boy not knowing who his father is?
For me, it was very difficult because I share his namesake. I am named after him. I am John Anthony McDonald II. So I am. I was very conflicted by that when I was younger. I was like, wow, you have somebody's name, their entire name, and you don't know who this person is. And that, I think that took me into a tailspin a little bit, and I didn't know who I was or who I was to be. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times as a man, I've learned as a man, as a father of a beautiful daughter, that you have to be there for your children. And we're, statistics have shown us that when you are not in your child's life as a father, that, the children, they decline in school and they decline in life. Mm-hmm. And because that strong authority needs to be there. You can be strong, but you can also be nurturing as well. And I've learned to do that in my relationship with my daughter and have that balance there. So a lot of times we laugh, we joke, and everything of that sort. But at the same time too, I have to be very stern and very authoritative with her at times. And I don't yell, I don't scream or anything like that. But that's not what I got. So I got yelling, screaming, stitching cords and switches and anything that could be found.
I remember that too. My mom subscribed to the same school of discipline. It sounds like that your mom did.
Oh my goodness! So yeah, so for me, it was a lot. It's a lot of ups and downs. And I was a very angry child growing up. So and all that kind of escalated when I became a teenager. So from you don't understand the ramification that you have on your children, and then when they get to teenage years and they get to their formative years of becoming an adult, it does play on their psyche at times because they don't know who they are, or they no one told them that, hey, you can be something or whatever. So it did play on my mind a lot, and I didn't know that until much later how impactful that it was not to have him around.
Mm-hmm. 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 How did that anger manifest? How did that come out? I know you said it came out when in your teen years, but how did it come out?
So, I wasn't in any gangs or anything of that sort. I was just more, I was a smart kid. My teachers would tell me all the time that I was smart. Didn't hear a lot at home, so I didn't really know how smart I was. Yeah. So a lot of times, you hear it, out there in the street, you really don't hear it at home. It doesn't really matter as much to you, or you don't believe it as much as you should. So for me, a lot of times, I would get so upset. I would get violently upset at times, just because of whatever. And some people would they would tease me, they would bully me or whatever like that. And I was a small guy, and I think the funny thing is I just weighed myself yesterday when I went to the gym, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like the biggest I've ever been in my entire life. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I've always been like very lean guy. I'm not a very large man. Like I'm 5'10", and now I'm 175. I'm like, oh my God, what happened here? But when I was younger, I was really skinny. I had like a bird chest, and people would just, they would kind of mess with me to kind of see if I would, be quote unquote punked. But I wouldn't, I would always stand up for myself, and I always knew to stand up for myself. Even if I would get beat, I would stand up for myself. So a lot of times I would downplay how I would feel, and then sometimes it would just manifest. And I could argue with the best of them. No one would ever beat me in an argument. And a lot of times because I could fence with someone, I could mince words with somebody very well, just because I read a lot. But I was very upset. And a lot of times I would get out on the street and then somebody would fight me. And it would get so violent to a point that people would have to pull me off a person just because I didn't have sense, quote unquote, sense enough just to stop. And because you're so angry, you don't know where all that anger comes from.
It's like a blind rage.
Basically, yeah. Like some people's like, I see red. I didn't see red. I just kind of went. I just kind of went in and didn't stop. It was like, zero, like truly 0 to 100.
So when you were fighting them, do you know what it was you were fighting? Were you fighting because it's almost like even though those people that you're hitting, after a while you lose sight that it's them, and you're really fighting something else?
I think I did. I think I was more fighting all the demons that I had growing up. My father not being there. Being molested at a young age by a male cousin, I think, and then and then just resentment toward, I guess, my mother because she had to work. So I think so. I had to. So a lot of times it was a lot of emotion towards all of that. So and you don't, when you're younger, you don't know what it is. You don't know why you're mad, and I just had this very, very short fuse. You said something wrong to me, I would just kind of go off, and I would just go off the handle and just like, and it was very dangerous, honestly. When I look back at it now, I'm like, wow, it was I was like stupid and very dangerous because I would get in fights with different people. I mean, and big people from school or gang members and things of that sort. So a lot of times it would escalate to like very tumultuous and violent places. And when I look back at a lot of things that I've experienced over the years, I can laugh about it now because I'm like, wow, I remember, if it truly was not for the love of God that He has for me, that I would truly not be here. When I look at some of these movies that are on Netflix now, talking about the Central Park Five or the Exonerated Five, that I do remember how the police did treat you. And then I was also watching one documentary about one young man, I forgot his name at the moment, and that he went to Rikers Island and it was there for 3 years, and that and it shook me a little bit because I remember being in New York, and I remember how the police would act at times, and I remember having this very smart mouth, and I remember how things could have really, now, like, getting older now, I can look back at it and I'm like, wow, it could have really went left. And just, and then you kind of see, the grace and the mercy of God even more when you look at it, like, wow, God has really, really been gracious. God, you've really been good to me, because it could have went so many different ways.
Could have gone the other way. So what was the pivotal moment? What was that moment of of transformation for you, that moment when things shifted?
So my mother had enough sense, and I thank God that she did. That she just had enough sense one day, and I don't know what, I really had to ask her, and she may not even know, but I thank God that she had the sense enough to hear the voice of God in the moment and say that we need to leave New York. I think it was probably after I got into this one fight, and it kind of escalated very, very badly. These guys came to the house. And my mother didn't know who they were, and they were in a gang. It was a very known gang in New York called the Latin Kings. Guys were just dangerous, very dangerous. And they'll do just the most horrific things to people. But I was just dumb and didn't, I was like, I don't fear anything, You think that bullets fly off of you and things of that sort, and that's literally not the case.
No.
But I went out, they came to the front door, I went out the back door and ran to the front and had a baseball bat in my hand. I was like, okay, it was a gang of them, it was a good many of them. And I was like, hey, you can come off that vestibule if you want to. I was like, you may not, I may not get all of you, but I will make sure that I get a few of you. And that was just my mindset. So I think that she kind of saw that and saw the writing on the wall that, hey, if I don't get him out of here, he's going to kill him. He's going to kill somebody, or somebody's going to kill him. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the turning point for her to, bring me down to North Carolina. And then for me to come down to North Carolina, I didn't like it. I was like, it's slow. You need a car.
Yes, you do.
I was like, I don't like it. Everything is far, nothing's close. So it was difficult for me to transition down here, and I didn't really want to be here. But I went to my uncle was and he was a pastor, and he he's like, hey, we come down here. He's like, hey, you gotta go to church. You live in the house, you gotta go to church. I'm like, okay, and I was like, I don't have it, the black mindset is that, hey, I don't have anything to wear, you got to dress up.
Yeah.
My uncle's like, first time ever, people like, oh, just come as you are or whatever like that. I'm like, I'm from New York, so I'm like, my pants are sagging, I got all this big stuff on. It's the 90s. So I'm like, okay, so I just come. And, I would sit in the back, I would just listen, and, kind of mock the quote unquote church people. Cause I was like, wow, they're just weird and radical, and they run around here. And
they had to be Pentecostal.
Yeah, they were. I was like, they were hoofing and hollering and running around. I'm like, what is this? This is ridiculous. And for me, I was like, okay, whatever. And, I would, if no one ever knew that God is real and existed, and they don't ever think that the Bible is true. For me, the Bible held so true in so many regards. When I think about it now, because, the Bible says, faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. And for me, it was that faith really came by hearing, and I just sat in the back and I just listened, and I listened long enough that when I got into trouble, like real trouble, I didn't know what to do and was scared out of my mind. I sat there and had a very real encounter with a very real God.
Do you mind telling the listeners what that was that scared you to death like that, or do you want to just kind of leave it right there?
Oh no, no, no. I mean, for me, I was, I was young. I didn't know anything about life. And the young lady that I was talking to at the time, I did not know, and it was told to me much later that that she was HIV positive, and that scared me to death. Because I've been,
Understandably so.
yeah, and I've been,
All the color out of your face,
yes, yes.
everything just, oh,
Oh
yeah.
God, like there was never a time that you would ever, that you would turn like straight white. It would be in this moment. So it was difficult. It was very difficult.
Yeah,
So
because back in that time, we didn't know that much about it. So it was like the kiss of death back then, right?
oh yeah, yeah. Cause like I would, you would hear, you know, like that people would say, hey, they got HIV or something like that. It's just like, it's over. Oh God, this is it. This is where it's going to end for me. And I was like, and I think later on, I was just scared. I was just scared to death, and I was like, God, I don't know. And not knowing God, not knowing anything about, not knowing if there even really be a God. Like like my spiritual father would say, he's like, you don't even know if there be a God.
The B wood. Yes.
So I was like scared to death. And so when I learned that, and then my friend called me and said, hey man, you might need to get checked, this, that, and third. I just found out XYZ. Then I called the girl and she's like, yeah, this is that and third. And I was like, oh God. And, of course, God was not the first thing that came to my mind.
A few words, I'm sure.
It was more on the defensive mechanism, and a lot of 4-letter words, and
Oh yes.
and everything else in between. But yeah, it was just a lot going on, and I was like, man, this is rough. And I think I kind of maintained for the day, and just kind of went on with my day. But that night it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was so scared. I was like, God, like this is the first time. And I've been in, now mind you, I've been in, shootouts, and I've been in fights, and I've been, people try to rob me and all this stuff. And by knife point or gun point or whatever. And I was never as scared in those moments as I was in that moment when I learned that I could have HIV.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God. And then like my mortality really set in for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I don't know, I'm usually the person that comes up with every solution. And I didn't have a solution for this. And the only thing I could do was cry. And I'm not a very emotional person, but in that moment I cried, I bawled, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I didn't have, there was no preaching on the radio, no television preacher or anything like that. It was just me. And then I remembered what I heard in church. And I was like, I don't know if you even exist, and I don't know if you hear me, but I need your help, God. And if you would, in my mind, I was like, if I have to die, then I would like to die knowing that I will be able to see God.
Mm-hmm.
If he's there, I would like to know that I can see God. And in that very moment, and, most people they pray this,
the sinner's prayer.
Spooky deep prayer.
Yeah, that's the sinner's prayer that people tell you. Yeah.
Father God, in the name of Jesus. No, it was God, I need your help.
Yes.
I don't know what to pray. I don't know how to pray, but I need you now. And that was it. It was nothing more than that. And I felt, this presence come into the room, so much so that I just laid on the ground like a dead person. And I didn't want to move because I felt, it was so heavy, so strong in the room that I felt if I moved, I was going to literally die. So I laid there and I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I just laid there. And I felt, and I felt this warmth come over my entire body like I've never felt before. And I just laid there, and then, and I don't know how long I was down there. I couldn't tell you, but I remember when that presence left, I felt like I could get up, and I felt so much easier. My mind was not racing, and I felt like I was going to just die in that moment, because I felt like I was going to die. If I went to sleep that night, I felt like I was not going to wake up the next morning. Mm-hmm. But like I tell people, I'm like, if you ever have a doubt of there being a quote unquote God, there is no doubt in my mind that he is who he says he is, who the Bible says that he is, and that he will do exactly what the word says that he will do. And the great thing about it is, if the Bible is never true, because people refute it time and time again, if the Bible is not true, then truly I wouldn't be here. If the Bible wasn't true, I would not be sitting here talking to you at 38 years old, and this happened when I was 16, and still I'm not HIV positive. There's nothing. So that there will be that I could not refute that saying that there is no God and there be no God. I'm like, there is a God, and he is so real and so just to love a true sinner like me. Like when Paul said he was the chief sinner, I felt like I was the chief sinner.
Y'all, you and Paul could have been running buddies.
Definitely, yeah. Because I hung out with drug dealers and everything in between. Did not sell drugs, but a lot of my buddies were drug dealers. So.
I'm so glad you're talking about faith, because even though my listening audience is diverse, different denominations, faith, religions, ethnicities, and all of that, I always say, regardless of what your faith is, you got to have a basis for it other than what somebody told you or what you read. And what I love about your story, John, is that even if all the Bibles got burned up and all the churches got shut down, you had an experience with God, your higher power, that energy that I call God as well, that nobody can take it from you, no matter what their opinions are, no matter what they've gone through in their lives, whether they believe, they don't believe, they cannot take that from you. You know what I'm saying?
No, definitely not. And I tell people all the time, like, there can never be a doubt in my mind that there be a God. The Bible says that if he's not God, then truly heaven and earth will pass away. And then I tell people, I'm like, since I look around and the earth is still in place and everything is still where it was when I laid down, then surely that there is no doubt that there is a God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I tell you, I turned 60 a couple of months ago, and one of the things that I have learned in my relationship with God is that, and I'm concerned sometimes about the generations that I see of people that, and I always tell people, I grew up in church, so it's no diss of church at all, because I grew up in church. I sometimes laughingly say, if my mama hadn't gone into labor at home, I probably would have been born in between the pews. And that's how much we went to church. But one of the things, and I grew up in a Pentecostal holiness kind of deliverance environment. But the thing I think that stayed with me, and I'm glad in all the getting that I got, I'm glad that God allowed me to have an experience with him apart from everybody. because in the beginning I was just doing stuff because that's what I was told I was supposed to do. You know, what I heard you say, I took it because you were more spiritual than me, so you had to be right. You know, I didn't have my own relationship with God. And I learned when you don't have your own relationship, you can be talked into anything.
Definitely.
You know, and so I'm grateful that even with the scrapes, the bumps, the bruises, the things that I loved about it and the things that I hated about it, I'm grateful that what has sustained me and my relation has sustained my faith, I should say, is the relationship that God has been so committed and so loyal to, even when I wasn't. He has been determined. It's like he has left no doubt in my mind how committed, how loyal, how for me, even in the ups, downs, even in the times when it seemed like he wasn't for me, even in times when it seemed like he wasn't on my side. When I'm like, God, why you let me go through this? Why I did this, I did the other. I went to church, blah, 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 I did this. And you still let this happen to me. I realize that two things. One, he never left me. And two, the only reason he let me go through the things that I went through wasn't because I was cursed, wasn't because I was bad, wasn't because I wasn't lovable. It was because of this moment of my life where everything I've been through has a purpose.
Absolutely.
It has a purpose to benefit somebody else. Exactly. In a real profound way. And that's why I really, this season, I've been really vetting the people that I bring on the podcast even more with more intentionality, is because I don't want somebody who's just going to give me somebody else's story or somebody else's quotes or somebody else's aha moments. It's like, what is the basis of the truth that lies in you? What's the basis for your beliefs? What are the insights that you gain? That people need believable heroes. They need somebody that can tell you, this is what I went through. And this is how God showed up for me. And I can tell you with 100% confidence because I went through something with him. And those are the people I think that really have the biggest impact.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I've always been I've learned that I've been very influential in my friends' lives. So much so that I never knew it. They're like, dude, you don't understand how much, you have impacted my life in a positive way. Be it, a quote. I get, at times I'll get somebody that just hits me up on Facebook. I'm like, oh my God, I appreciate you so much for saying what you said, the post that you post or whatever like that. And I've had people, in their special, dedications in their books and things of that sort, say, I want to thank John McDonald. I'm like, but for what? And they're like, you have no idea how much your words impacted me. I remember one of my friends in general, she was my next door neighbor and came to my house one day. And this is when I first moved into the Triangle area. And I didn't know what she was going through and everything. She just came over one night and I was going through, my own set of issues, more financial issues in my respect, but she was going through so much mental anguish and things that later on there, she told me that she was going to kill herself that night. And I didn't know. And I just, I just invited her in, her and I talked and we just prayed. I was like, hey, I was like, can I just pray for you? I was like, I know I'm going through my own set of issues, but can I pray for you? And I just prayed. And she's like, that night when you prayed for me, you said you have no idea because I was literally going to kill myself, but you prayed for me. And that took me to a place that I knew that I could make it. And then in that moment, I think she came back and said, "Hey, I want to be a blessing to you. Me and my boyfriend want to be a blessing to you." And they gave me, like, because I was a little short on my rent, and I didn't know how I was going to pay it because I just like lost my job and everything. And sure enough, her and her boyfriend came up with the exact amount that I needed, and
Wow.
said, "Hey, I just want to be a blessing to you." And I was like, wow. I was like, I did not expect, because I was like, God, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know how you're going to do it. And that's literally what I said. I was like, I really don't know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. I was like, I don't know how it's going to get done. I was like, but I know you didn't bring me all the way up here just to leave me. I was like, so you're going to have to show yourself strong. Didn't know how it was going to happen, but he showed himself so strong. And just being, just being able to be a blessing to her life. And, now she's married and whatnot, and, and living a great life. And I'm like, I just thank God in that moment. Every time I see her on Facebook, it makes me just smile, and it brings so much joy to my heart to remember that moment where she said, I was about to kill myself, but I remember your prayer, and your prayer helped me so much that I felt as though I could keep on going. And that for me meant more to me than anything. Like most times on Facebook, we get these likes and things of that sort, and we're fueled by that, and we have that chemical that makes us just love it even more, and we're addicted to it. But at the end of the day, for me, it's not about the likes, and if anybody likes my post, God bless them. But it's not about a like, and it's not about notoriety. For me, it's about making an impact in somebody's life. And as long as I can make an impact in somebody's life from something that I said and something that I've gone through, and they can feel like they can make it through what they're going through, I feel like I've done my job as a person, as an influencer, and as a man. And I feel like, we as men, we need to stand tall in our community, in our society. And, as an African American man, we need to stand tall and proud, and know that, that we are a staple in our community, and not just a statistic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, John, that the whole emphasis for season 2 is going from enough to more than enough. So what is your more than enough? Here we are in 2020, and by the time this airs, it'll be spring of 2020. So what areas do you feel like life, God is calling you from enough to more than enough, more discipline, more compassion, more honesty? What is your more than enough that you feel like you're being called to?
Definitely more honesty, definitely more discipline, definitely just getting out there more than I have been in the past, because I know for me, I don't like, and and people that know me know this for certain, is that I do not like to be in the spotlight.
You don't?
I don't. Oh my gosh! I would love to be in the back of the room.
So I guess you love this podcast, and it's audio only, not video.
Oh my goodness, this is still freaking me out. Because I'm like, I would love to be in the in the background instead of in the forefront. But I do understand that is not my plight in life, and I've accepted that.
Yeah, you've got too much to share. You've got too many gems, too much life experience that this world needs. Yeah. Yeah, you got a lot to offer, John. You truly, truly do. It's funny, as I was listening to you speak, I said, God, he sounds like Devon Franklin. I was literally sitting here, the way you were talking, the way you were phrasing things, and just the manner in which you speak, just from an audio standpoint. I'm like, oh my God. And I hope you like Devon Franklin.
I do actually. Yeah.
But I was thinking, gosh, he kind of has that kind of vibe, even though Devon is a little bit more intense with his, but you still have that. There's this genuineness there. There's this genuineness there that I feel like, yeah, like you could talk to anybody and be powerful, but yet not overpowering, if that makes sense.
It does, and I God knows, I thank God that I can be that, and that you can see that, because I feel for me, I might, if I can't be anybody else, I can only be myself, and it took me a long time to even get to that point, to knowing who John is, and now that I'm here and I know who I am and whose I am elated to just be the man that God has called me to be, and to turn this world truly upside down.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we don't understand the power of words anymore. I know we're on social media and things of that sort, and things go from likes to nothingness, and everything just kind of floats around in the ether. But I believe that it's coming a time that we will get back to the point that we want the genuineness, and I don't think that is not there, because most people they want somebody that's genuine and has the capacity to impact their lives. That's why you have motivational speakers that are on the rise, and you have self-help books that are on the rise and things of that sort, because people are looking. And I feel like it will be increasingly more so as this decade progresses.
Mm-hmm. I believe faith is going to be a real big one, a big thing. I know I had a conversation with some people, attended a seminar that I did in, oh goodness, when did I do this? I did it in January. I'm getting my times and dates mixed up, but just a couple, I think maybe a couple of weeks ago, because right now this is being recorded January of 2020, and it was called Confront Your Valley. And one of the things that I was telling them that was a symptom of the valley is believers who don't believe. And I said, we pack out churches, we go to a lot of different religious gatherings, depending on somebody else's faith. It's like we got to continue to keep going and get motivated, and we feel our little emotions, but then we leave and go right back to defeated lives.
Absolutely.
And I said, one of the symptoms of the valley, one of the symptoms of not knowing who you are and whose you are, is you believe in God, you believe in that, but you don't believe in the God in you. You don't believe that he inside of you is powerful enough to handle issues, to speak to you, to guide you, to lead you, not just in making money, not just in getting clients, not just in advancing whatever your belief of success is, but in really thriving in your life, in having peace, genuine joy, genuine contentment. Because what I've experienced is a lot of people that say they're believers, have such low vibration language. Girl, I just don't know how I'm gonna make it. Honey, I don't no, I don't trust I don't trust me. And you hear all these things and I'm like, wait a minute, but you are believers, right? And so one of the things that I really believe, part of the reason that we're having our experience in God that no one can take from us is so we can help those who haven't really had an experience. They've gone to church, they felt emotional, but they haven't really had a transformational turn inside out experience. And I feel like that's lacking. I feel like people are lacking having a real experience. They're having an emotional experience, but I mean a real transformation that I'm different. People used to say, things I used to do, I don't do no more. Places I used to go, I don't go no more. There's been a great change, great change, great change. And
Exactly.
I used to hear that song, but I didn't really understand it. But there is no way you can have that kind of, and I know your experience was unique to me, but I've had an experience with God too. One of those that you can't take it away from me. I don't care. You might not like what I say. You might not like some of the choices I make. You may not agree with all of my theology. You might not agree with whatever, but you can't take my experience with God from me. And I feel like people need to be ushered into transformation that only those who have had a transformation can usher them into, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
And so that's one of the reasons why I was so glad to have you on my podcast. And before we leave, could you just any final words? Well, first of all, letting people know how they can connect with you, and then any final words that you have for the listeners.
I will definitely say that it has been an honor and a privilege to be on your podcast. I was elated to have the opportunity just to be on here to share my story. I hope it helped someone that feels like they couldn't make it, that that things look impossible and things of that sort. I hope that something that I said encourages you, that resonated with you. But you can definitely reach out to me on social media. Unfortunately, I am on all 3 platforms.
Unfortunately.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So I am on Facebook at John A. McDonald II. I have a personal page. I have a fan page, and then also I am on Twitter, and I just started an Instagram, and I'm just like I don't really take a lot of pictures, so I'm not sure how impactful that's going to be, but we'll see nonetheless.
Oh yeah, I discovered Instagram I think last year. I had gone to a seminar and somebody was talking about Instagram, and I was like, got kind of curious about it and got on it. And I have to say, it took a while for me to kind of wrap my head around it.
Sure.
Because I had been on Facebook, and for some reason I had problems reconciling it, But once I, kept at it. I kept at it, and I have to say, my 2 favorite social media hangouts are Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
They truly are. And I've met some wonderful people, made some great connections on both of those platforms. And so
Yes.
I'm good. I know some people swear by LinkedIn and others swear by Pinterest, and others swear by Twitter and all that. I couldn't quite get me and Twitter. I couldn't take off with Twitter. I don't know what it was about that. But that my sweet spots Instagram and Facebook for sure. So you'll see me on there a lot. So any final words you want to leave with our listeners?
I would definitely say to anybody that's listening, be true to yourself, be true to who you are. Never allow past to dictate your future. Always know that you matter. Always know that you count. And have a true sense of somebodyness. And that means to really just be true to yourself and know your worth, and that you're worth something to someone. And if you're not a celebrity, then that's fine. You don't have to be. But know that you matter and you count to someone somewhere, and someone needs you in this world. And I am a true witness that if you feel down and you feel out and you feel like nothing matters, that is a lie. And you matter, and this world is better with you in it.
Because you aren't just enough. You are more than enough.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Thank you, John. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you so much.
You have just listened to the Enough Factor podcast with your host, Suzette Bernard. To get notified of new episodes or to dig deeper into today's topic, become a subscriber. And while you're at it, tell us how we're doing and what topics you're interested in. We appreciate your feedback and your reviews. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are worth it, you are enough.